Hey everybody, this is Crush. Welcome back to another episode of Creators Spotlight. Today we have Sikamikanico here, the creator of Curfew. You guys might have saw that in the recent Forge trailer and also some of the Forge fundamental videos in the past. He's been around for quite some time. Introduce yourself, Ben.
Hey everyone. First of all, massive kudos for pronouncing Sikamikanico correctly. Like, I was impressed when Unishek did it. You have impressed me also. No one ever gets that name right, so like, kudos. I have been around for a while. That makes me sound old, which I am. Been forging since Halo 3. I guess my minor claim to fame is the first ever Forge map ever in matchmaking, which was Infected Manor back in 2007. That was made by me and a friend, Bart, who I still play games with to this day, who we met playing Halo, so it's a small world, but it's come full circle for me now.
Damn, man. I honestly didn't even know you made Infected Manor. That's insane. That's
how long I've been around.
That's crazy. When you guys were making that, I'm guessing ghost merging for that was fun, since that's quite the quite the experience.
It was really weird as well because my friend Bart was the one that was like, oh, I'm going to make this house map. And he was like talking to me about it. And I came in, I was like, so what is this? And he was like, oh, it's meant to be just placing stuff around, but people have found out this technique. And then we got into the merging. So I was pulled into Forge by him. And then it got to the point where I was like, I realized an obsession. I've always been intrigued by level design. I've always loved Halo. It's been my jam since I was a kid. And being able to then construct places for people to play and make our own games and our own fun, it just snowballed. And Infected Manor was a version of the original was Bart's Manor, and it was a party game type where you were defending against infected, but it was actually built. It wasn't infected. It was built for assault. So it was called Gate Crashers, and they would come in with a bomb and gate crash the party in the house. It was stupid. It was what Halo is all about for me. Silly,
stupid fun,
social custom games. Yeah. But then people really loved it for Infected, and eventually I think we worked with Shishka. I'm going back a few years now on the Bungie.net forums, and worked quite closely with him to make an Infected version that was balanced for matchmaking. So like as the game progressed in timer, we had things spawn in that made it a lot easier for the infected to get into the house and give them different avenues, so that people weren't just being spawn killed over and over. There was a method to the madness, but it was a weird experience back then. We never got recon. Like, for the record, I'm flipping the bird to you, Bungie. We never got recon for that, despite that claim to fame. And yeah, I've been addicted to it ever since. There was a bit of a lull during Halo 4 where I was just like, nah, nothing felt right to me. It wasn't the evolution I was looking for, but Halo 5 put me back in big time.
So you kind of took a break with Halo 4. Did you come back for 2A at all?
Nope. I like, again, Halo 2 was kind of like a little bit of Halo 4 again. It wasn't really like this big evolution, and it's crazy now to say that Halo 5 was a big evolution, but it was. I mean, we look at it now and it looks like everything's made out of Play-Doh. Play texture.
In comparison to like Curfew or like some other maps that have come out, like there's a lot of play back then. Like even like late game Halo 5, we started getting a little bit more aesthetical and stuff. Like you're able to see like more like pieces being used in a way that would make it just cleaner overall. I think I remember, if I'm remembering correctly, you had a map that just used like straight up St. Helios pieces, right? With by the water.
God, I miss the St. Helios pieces so much. So Halo 5, I guess I think I became a little bit more known, I suppose, again, because they dropped the St. Helios pieces. Like, I was fooling around with Forge. I made a map called Fever Pitch, which was like a big lava-filled atrium, and the lava had a flow to it, so if bodies fell in it, they would disintegrate and set on fire as they moved down the flow of lava. But like, design-wise, it wasn't particularly great. It was just aesthetically cool. And I made a pirate ship map, but that had like a little tiny pirate ship that got evolved on later on. But when the St. Helios pieces dropped, I was like, I had a couple of days off just randomly, I was like, oh, I wonder what I can make. And I made a map in 12 hours that I think was like the next step from an aesthetic point of view, because the pieces were so new and people hadn't really got to grips with them. And I ended up making this crazy, sprawling, tropical kind of 2v2-ish type map.
Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of went viral and went a little bit crazy, and I think a few people saw it. And I came up with some cool ways to make water out of some of the plasma effects and stuff. So it was fun.
Yeah,
It was fun time.
I remember seeing that and playing around on it a lot. Like the other thing too, the St. Helios pieces is like, oddly enough, they kind of seemed like the most detailed pieces that we had in 5, which was weird, but it was a good weird.
Too many St. Helios maps by the end of it, though. Like every map.
I mean, yeah, fair. I still remember like going into the custom game browser and there'd just be like the elite statues on random maps sometimes, like clan raid maps and stuff. But yeah, that's sick that you've been around for so long. Like, especially since all the way back in Halo 3, I didn't even know that. So of course, between Halo 3. You took the break with Halo 4, didn't really come back for 2A, but you came back with 5, and of course you've been forging in Infinite with the Forge Council stuff that was shown off for Curfew.
Yeah.
What was the process when you were making Curfew? Like, did you have like any like design goals that you wanted to do? I know that that was a remake from 5's ODST competition, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, kind of. So during 5, like I worked quite closely with some of the Halo 5 sustain team, so Blaze Dillon and Randy 355. They were really cool, and I think because I was quite quick in accepting the limitations of the performance requirements to be in matchmaking, because I mean any forger that's been forging for a while, you know, if you've ever come across that, you've finished your map and it's all beautiful, and then they're like, yeah, you need to cut like 300 objects for this to even get close, and you're like, oh no. So I worked quite closely with those guys, refining a few things and trying to get stuff ready. And I think when I'd worked with them on the remake of Fever Pitch, which Blaze Dillon and I kind of redid, we kept the theme, the lava theme, but we redid all the design. And then when they were doing an ODST special event, they reached back out to me. I think they did a Ghost in the Shell mashup. Do you remember that, the competition?
Yeah, the Ghost in the Shell, where they had like the spider tanks were required, and like there was some other stuff that were required. Yeah. So I won second place in that, which was arguably the best prize, because the first prize was fly to Orlando and go to HCS, and I was like, I don't want to watch sweaty tryhards play Halo, you know, like I want the giant needler that's life size and battery powered, and the what's it called, Nerf Brute Spiker. Yeah. So I got all this stuff, so that was cool. But basically, I was known to these guys, and I worked quickly, and they were doing this ODST playlist, and they said, hey, we've got this design, and I think Blaze Dillon had blocked out an ASIM, you know, almost I would say a standard Halo 5 map, an ASIM 3-lane kind of block out. It was very simple. It was like a town square type thing. And he was like, do you think you can do anything with it in X amount of time frame? And I was like, yeah, let me take a look. And so I went crazy and built massive skyscrapers and built the city. And I had to go through, I don't know, something like 7 iterations to get the performance back to where they needed it. Damn.
Yeah, like I went over the top, and obviously on my Xbox One X, so the higher powered Pro console that Microsoft released after a while, frame rate was fine for me, but I obviously couldn't test on an Xbox One VCR console.
Got to get that VCR in there.
And even now, in the year of our Lord 2022, we've still got to worry about that damned VCR.
Yeah, but thankfully it's a lot more optimized than Halo 5 was, and we can do more things. So that's a plus.
Very true, very true. But yeah, I worked really closely with them on that. So when it came to being in the flight and being on the Forge Council, when we got to a certain point, the build was good enough that I was like, okay, I'm gonna actually try and make something, like, you know, all the buttons are here. I reckon I can pull this off. And I was like, if the game's coming out, you know, if the update's coming out end of the year, and we didn't know at the time, but if it was targeting that time frame, I wanted to have something ready for people to play. That was my goal. So I looked back and I was like, okay, can I take a block out? So I ended up loading up Halo 5, dismantling precinct and trying to find the original block out, and I effectively reblocked it out again, measured it out, rescaled it for Infinite, took a bunch of pictures, rebuilt it in Infinite, kind of side by side. And then I was like, what do I do with it now? Like, do I want to make an ODST map again? And I really wanted to do something a lot darker because of the crazy amount of detail that Infinite affords us now in Forge. So I went with kind of like a cyberpunky, like still a city map, but it's the detail is off the charts. Like, it's nuts.
Oh yeah, like it looks absolutely insane. You did a fantastic job, even like for how much time that map has gone from point A to point B when it comes to not even just bringing it back from Halo 5 and maybe readjusting some things, but also just bringing that Cyberpunk aesthetic fully out there. It just looks great.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with the end result. Like, even now, like I've just finished and republished an updated version this evening as we record this, where I've just solidified some pathing and I came up with some new lighting techniques, and just playing around with all of that stuff. It just like, you finish something, you put a light down and you've got the cracks of it coming through the door, and it's picking up the real-time shadows and it reacts to your playing being there, and I'm like, I never thought Forge would get this cool. Like, it's a little mini game engine within a game. I mean, and it's incredible. Like, we are less than a week out, and already I'm seeing some absolutely crazy things from the community. It's awe-inspiring.
Yeah, I saw I think Foge put it as, this is baby's first Unreal, is a way to put that. To some extent, being able to just kind of do as you please with the OBBs and the lights and stuff, being able to kind of like be very exact, so like lights don't bleed into other lights and cause performance issues or anything like that, which is fantastic to have. It would be fantastic to have a frame rate counter, so we could so we could do exact numbers on that, but at least we have the tools to do the quality of life stuff that we need to do for frame rates and all the other stuff, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, pro tip, if anyone out here is forging on Halo Infinite Forge, there's a reason Curfew is set at night. The sun being off gives me a 30% performance increase, something like that, roughly. So
awesome.
Yeah, bear that in mind. If you want you really go nuts on the detail, turn the sun off. Make a reason for the game to be at night, and you'll be fine.
Look, the sun can look cool sometimes, though. You know.
I know. It's that delicate balancing act, and I did try a daytime version of Curfew just to see what it would look like, and it still looks cool. But you know, even then I was like, whoa! I swear I felt that bit of choppiness there, and I'm on the Series X now, so that's a concern. So we'll see what it goes.
It seems like there might be some slight bugs, because I've been getting, like, even on mine and Eric's map, I've been getting some like very slight hitches, but like we play in game and like there's like no issues. So I'm curious if there's like Forge only frame rate possibly, like because of like all the blockers and stuff spawning in on screen.
I feel like that's the thing. Like the blockers themselves are acting a bit weird in the current build. Like you spawn them, and if you duplicate one, it kind of like goes wonky for a minute, and you have to kind of straighten it and redo it again. So there's still like, even though all the testing, we were still a super limited group from a Forge Council perspective. So you know, now it's out in the open, I think is the chance for Michael and the team at 343 to actually find solutions and causes for some of the weirder bugs. So I only expect it to improve. Like it's going to get better.
Definitely.
Which is great because it's already really fun.
Oh, 100%. When it comes to the artistic perspective on Curfew, where did you get your main inspirations from for your Cyberpunk set? Did you go to Cyberpunk 2077? Did you go to like Pinterest and just look up like Cyberpunk concept art and stuff? Like, where'd you go for that?
It was a weird one. Like I didn't really look at any sources. Like I did when I sat down and I was like, I want people to say when they see it, this is Forge. Like that was the goal. I wanted people to literally say that out loud, and it was really cool to be in the chat when they were doing that Forge Fundamentals video, because obviously it was a premiere on YouTube, and I was sitting in the chat, and then it came up, and I did not know that they were gonna just put that in the video. Like I got a cryptic message from Unishek, like, I don't know, a day before, saying like, hey, we filmed some stuff on your map. It came up really well. And I'm like, cool, what's that? And then they dropped the thumbnail, and the thumbnail, I could see it was the arcade building from the map in the background. I was like, oh no. and they showed it off, and I was seeing the chat react, and obviously people were very surprised that that was Forge, which was really cool. But in terms of inspiration, I think I googled like, you know, Cyberpunk. I've played Cyberpunk 2077, but I wanted to keep it feeling like it was within the Halo world as well. Like I didn't want to go like some completely elsewhere.
Yeah,
and I
don't want to
really
like
want
make it feel too different.
Yeah, and I didn't want to replicate Streets. Like I didn't want it to look like Streets really. I wanted to make it feel really dirty, really grungy, and grimy. So I ended up, I think that the turning point for me was I found these tech panels in the asset library, and they were all bright, stark white. And weirdly, the material texture that I ended up choosing that really like reflected well, wasn't really shiny like loads of metal, and wasn't over the top, was paint in grey, and then with a little bit of rust flecks, you just get this really, really nice texture that was kind of matte but had this sheen to it. And then I just started putting pieces together and fleshing out ideas, and like it was crazy to me where I had skyscrapers before that were rooms you were never meant to go in. Well, now because of the control I had over lights, I could open these up and put windows in and doors and let people see in. It wasn't a playable area, but I could fill it with furniture to give it a sense of place. So, you know, it just snowballed from there, and it was just like, you know, for me, when I design a level or when I art a level, it's what looks cool is the primary goal. Like, I often don't sit there concepting and stuff, but I will, you know, over time, I've got a bunch of different prefab sets when I'm doing a particular style, like human or forerunner or whatever.
The old Bungie rule of cool.
Yeah, but it was like, you know, oh, this bin, like it's just a bin, but thanks to object scaling and stuff like that, well, that bin has a really cool texture in this peculiar shape, and if I increase its size by X% and then add this column, suddenly it's a completely new thing. And those are the kind of quirky bits I look for. And I think if I could give any advice to anyone forging, it would be the beauty of Forge is the fact that it's not Unreal. It's not a game engine where you're having to design your own textures and import them and all of that. It is kit bashing taken to a massive scale.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like we've been kit bashing for so long with like not even Halo 5's pieces, but also like just in the past, like I would think the hardest kit bash that we've ever had to do for aesthetic is probably Reach, just because of how basic like all the textures were all together. That was probably the hardest kit bash we've ever had to do. But
everything was grey.
Yeah,
everything was grey.
You want a UNSC map? Too bad, it's Grey Forerunner. But yeah, that's fun coming up from that, and especially with all the new pieces we have now, like me and Eric, Night Avenger, on our map have been going through so many of the categories, including like you might just think, oh, so like only accent pieces and structure pieces are what you want to like scale and stuff, because those are the ones that are hyper detailed, but lights actually have some really good pieces too that you can use structurally and kit bashy too, which is fantastic to be able to just like mess with all those and have the freedom to do that. It's just insane on how much content there is to actually like go through, I guess, with that.
Yeah,
because
man, I don't want to give Night Avenger a big head, like, but when I saw the art on the map you two are making, man, like, one, I kind of quietly said to myself, I'm gonna have to up my game. like he is doing some insane texture work. Like, I genuinely was blown away. I can't wait for people to see that and for that to be revealed, because some of the sense of scale that you guys have achieved is something that forgers for the last, I don't know, since 2007 have
just wasn't
only
even possible.
Dreamed of. It's like no way. But like all that over there in that skybox, completely superfluous, completely unnecessary to how the level plays, but to the feel and to the atmosphere,
Not to mention to like the frame rate and stuff too. Like it doesn't even like affect frame rate, which is fantastic.
I know.
Even on Curfew, like the stuff you have, your stuff is even hyper detailed, and like little rooms off to the side of lights coming through and all that. Like even that stuff is so detailed, and we're able to do so much with it. It's just fantastic. When it comes to like someone starting off and like whether it be arting up their map or kit bashing or scaling or even making the map in general, what would you actually recommend for like newer forgers coming in? because of course, like, we've been around for so long that we have those aspirations to make the atmosphere of the map like just fantastic in the sky, whether it be skybox or off to the side. What would you recommend new forgers to do to either start getting into that mindset or to help them along their way, I guess is the way to put that?
Yeah. Like, I'm of two minds, right? Like, as I've grown older with the game, you know, I've lent more into the design aspects. Like before, my process would be, I'm gonna make a giant pirate ship and then see what level I can shoehorn in around it. You know, like that was the design goal. So, you know, it was pirate ship first. Okay, how much budget have I got left? Okay, let's see what I can wrangle. Whereas now, I really enjoy working from a well-refined, designed, tested blockout. So the actual advice I would give to people new to Forge now is, and 343, I don't know which designer came up with it, because they deserve some kudos. Seriously, I think it's a really good idea. The Halo design set, which is the ugly orange blocks, right? The blockout block.
Yeah.
They are all designed to be of the right height and the right scale and the right angles for your standard Halo level design. So 22 blocks high is about, you know, the jump height of a Spartan. They've even got a differentiation between where the colors go from white and then orange to say that this is the head height and then this is the next height above. So you can understand very quickly as you're putting this stuff down what can be scaled, what can be jumped. They've even got a scaled Spartan in there so that you can put them around the map to understand whether you're making it too big or too small. And having that Lego set effectively to just kit bash the design first, worry about the theme later, get your gameplay goal down. Like, are you making a symmetrical map? Is it inverse sim? Is it four-way sim? Is it an asim? Is it a singular map that is designed around a particular game mode as opposed to a catch-all? Get that down first. Test it in that ugly mode, because it's so worthwhile, because there's nothing worse, and we've all been there, I think, as forgers. Oh, I finished the art on this map, but this bit sucks, and now I've got to take it all apart piece by piece and somehow put it all back together and not ruin it. And it can be a bit demoralizing. Whereas if you've got that gameplay absolutely nailed in the basic shapes first, then you can start thinking about theme and design and everything else. And that then is a separate challenge, but it's one that you can, because you've got your block out, you can kind of experiment. You can kind of get a feel for things.
It's gonna be fantastic to see all that, especially like since like everyone on the Forge Council has been able to try to push the feedback where we want it, so that we're able to have everything that we've ever wanted with Forge, whether that be like just little things or something big like water, or even in the Forge Q&A where we saw that flood textures are coming in. That's fantastic. That's something that we've wanted forever.
Yeah.
So that's real sick to be able to see that all that feedback is going really well.
What are your two like big things that you absolutely want, like out of everything? Like you only pick two, gun to your head. Like, what are the two?
So one of them is something that I've always dreamed of, and then you're to answer the same question, but one of them is something that I've always dreamed of with Forge ever since Halo 3. I understand that it's a hassle to do, but I want, so like how in Halo 5 we were able to switch the skyboxes on canvases, I want every single skybox from campaign and multiplayer into just one selectable skybox setting, to where we can select what skybox we would want, and then we can change the sun still within that skybox. I think that would be, that sounds like it would be hell on the engine and like be really hard to do. And I understand if that never came, but that's just a pipe dream I'm willing to have.
I'm with you. I'd love particularly a city skybox, like with skyscrapers and everything around it. Like, why isn't that a thing? But anyway, yeah, cool. What's your other one?
City skybox, and then even another one that'd be really cool is like, so like you remember like Delta Halo, Halo 2, like the mountains and stuff in the background with a giant lake. I think that could be a cool skybox as well. But my other one that I have is honestly kind of the flood textures that they mentioned. I've always kind of wanted something that we haven't had before, because we've always had Covenant textures, we've always had Foreigner textures, we've always had human textures. But Banished and Flood, that's something that kind of just turns the tables, because now we can even kit bash that stuff to look like something maybe we didn't think of. Maybe it's a puddle of puke on the ground or something. But If that one doesn't count, then I'd say that my other like major thing is just honestly, I want to see, if it's possible, I'd like to see vehicle welding return, since we aren't able to really vehicle weld right now. Because there were so many mini games that were fun to do back then in 5, like the Great Griddle with the Flapjack Frenzy, and even like some other cool like custom creations like Space Saucers and the Banshee just flying around picking up mongooses like Sean made. Like so many cool things that you can do with that.
God, yeah, 100%. Like I need water, and not just water as in water blocks, but like even puddle decals. Like just puddles I can place on the ground, stuff like that, and waterfall effects and proper ones like from some of the maps that already are out there. But more than anything, I need my Sankili pieces, people. I want some hewn rock. Like I don't need it to be perfect. Like the problem is, I want to make a castle as an example. Everything is like a perfect square or a rectangle, and that's not how real life works. So I need some rough squares and blocks and things that are scalable with cracks and detail and textures and stuff. Give me that, please. All of that stuff, and then I'll be a happy man.
Yeah. Another good thing would be is if we could color those pieces as well, so that we could have it be different types of puddles or different types of water. Or even lava, I guess, in the case of water, because then we could put like a light on top of it too, with like caustic effect, and then like have the lava flow, which would be dope. But yeah, that's fantastic. It's what would be one other thing though? You asked me to. I gotta get your two.
Okay, yeah, because we know water's on the top of their list already. I would like to see the return of either. I really liked the script brains in Halo 5. We could make the boundary visible and then color them and use them as like force fields. And with a combination of an invis blocker, you could do stained glass windows, you could do force fields, you could do all sorts that looked visually cool, but was super low from a performance point of view, unlike like actual glass, as an example. So I'd love to see that return, but if not, ball and hinge joints. Like there's something really nice about having stuff that's like hanging and moving of its own accord. And I know that they were pushing Halo 5's engine to the limit. But I miss them in Infinite. I was surprised they weren't there, I have to admit.
Yeah, same. It would be great to have those back, because that's even how some people made like the really smooth pelicans that flew by.
Yeah.
The really smooth like doors that you could walk into and it would open and close. Like those are so helpful, and hopefully we'll be able to get those back.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, soon.
Yeah, soon. Hopefully. I think it'd be dope to see that. I know it probably won't happen because like it does probably take a lot of time to get that content into the game. But I think it'd be cool if like every now and again in one of the drop pods that they do, if we had like some like just a small forge content drop. I think that could be kind of nice. But
we can hope, right? Season 3, maybe some cool new stuff. Like I think the leaked build showed off some other bits that aren't here right now. And I'm not going to talk about them because I have no idea if that goes against what I can't talk about. Like, you know what I mean?
It's that it's that weird thing. Like we can talk about it, but we can't talk about it. It's a fun time.
Fun forever.
Yeah, but we'll definitely have a lot more talks with that stuff, I'm sure, one way or another. But thank you again, Sid, for coming out and doing this. This is really appreciative, and I hope all you guys as well who have listened through this interview have learned not only a lot about Sick and his designs and his philosophies, but also just new ways that you might be able to start getting into Infinite's Forge, as it is quite the what's the word I'm trying to look for here?
Daunting beginning.
Yeah,
task.
daunting beginning. It like just with how much there is, just so daunting. But
it's scary, but it's so much fun. Just like, you know, go in with that block out, that design tool set, make something little, make something small, then art like a beauty corner and play around, experiment. You'll get there.
100%. Well, thank you once more, Sick, for coming out and joining us on Creator Spotlight. We will be back next month on schedule. Every 15th day of the month is what we're going to be shooting for. So thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, let's forge new Halo.